Hello, beautiful people. Did you miss me? It's been a whole month, and I promised to make a video at the end of the month. And now, this is a video, and it's the end of the month, so I'm assuming you're watching the video at the end of the month. I would hope so. If you're watching something else somehow right now, I don't know how you know that. I'm noticing now that my glasses are reflecting this giant-ass light, and it kind of looks cool, but I'm going to take them off for the rest of the video. So, I made some plays. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about some plays. I have here a spreadsheet that includes some valuable data regarding each play and what I thought about them and what other people think about them. Here are the categories as I have them right now. Number of pages, number of words, the themes, the amount of time spent writing, amount of prep or amount of planning, the potential. This is the category that's sort of saying, do I think it can go further than this? Do I think there's more story here? Do I think there's more things I can pull out of this? And I've sort of just marked it low, medium, high, very high kind of thing. We have comedy percentage. This is not, specifically, this is not how much comedy I think is in the show at all. It's more just like when you're officially categorizing this show, how likely it is to be called a comedy or how likely I think it is to be called a drama. There are way more categories, obviously, than these two, but I think these are the main two. So at the very least, I wanted to just sort of say how much of it I think is comedic and how much of it I think is dramatic. So we, of course, have comedy percentage and drama percentage. And then we have the friend approval rating. This is, I got someone else to read the play, and I asked them what they thought, and they gave me a short couple words of what they thought. And then I have a second category right underneath that called trustworthiness of my friend's opinion. This is where I say yeah or nah of how much I believe my friend. And it's not going to come into play much this week because I got the same person to read a lot of these. But next month, there's going to be more people on this list. I promise. I promise. I promise. I promise. For the first week, we have, as I've lovingly entitled it, Rat Play, or also called Rat King, King of the Supreme Court, or just Rat King of the Supreme Court. Okay, the titles are works in progress. In rat play, a rat must fight to keep its own food from the treacherous claws of the Rat King, master of rhyme. The Rat King fights the rat in a battle of wits and eventually loses. So let's get into the categories. Whoa, dang it. I hope this is the same framing as before. If the camera moved, sorry, I kicked it. Let's get into the categories here. So, rat play has 9 pages, 1,386 words, and I would say themes of equality, justice. Those are the two I wrote, but there's also probably some whimsy in there. There's maybe some theme of possession. What does people possess? What do people what are they obligated to give away? And what are they destined to keep? Things like that. Time writing, I estimated these. I think I spent about 4 hours writing this one. Not because that seems like not a lot of time, but it was like 4 hours over a week. So I spent maybe half an hour writing on one day and then an hour the next day. And then I kind of tweaked some things the next day. I spent more time sitting at the computer than 4 hours, but I definitely didn't write the whole time. So I said, yeah, about 4 hours. I didn't do any prep or planning. I just sat down and I started writing this one. So I didn't think ahead about what the plot was going to be, which is probably why it ended up being about rats. I just talk about rats a lot, I think. And then I put potential. I think it says high potential. I think there is a lot here, and it could go a lot further than this very small play. Comedy percentage, I put 85% because it's definitely very comedic. Drama percentage, I put 10%. There's a bit of drama in there, but not enough for like a category. It doesn't have enough for that. So drama is 10%-ish. And then this friend approval rating comes from my sister, Molly, who lovingly stated, I like it. Although when she was talking about it, she was talking in the past tense. She said, I liked it. And do I trust that? Yeah, I trust that. She said I like it. I believe her. I'm not going to lie and say it's serious. So overall, this play, I don't know, I'd put it out of 10, something like that. I'd say this one's like 6 or 7. This one's pretty good. It's pretty fun. It's definitely a bit confusing because I think it's more of a spoken word play than it is a listening or a reading play. It's a listening play, not a reading play. It's dialogue. It's just people talking back and forth, but they're rhyming and there's like a song. So it can get kind of confusing. So overall rating, I'd say 6 or 7. Could be more clear. I'll take a points away for clarity. Could be more clear. That's Rat Play. That's the first one. That was the first week. Incredible. A play in a week. I didn't think I could do it. Play number 2 is called Firewatch. It follows a young kid named Declan who lives in Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, as they are trapped inside a building during a wildfire. Declan uses an old ham radio to communicate with people outside of the area, and eventually is able to secure help, but has quite a lot of trouble doing it along the way as they feel like their mom abandoned them. And you learn slowly that the mom didn't abandon them. It's just a bad situation for everybody. Let's talk about it. So this play I kicked it again. Welcome back. I'm so sorry for hitting you like that. Please don't tell Mom. Categories. It has 9 pages as well. First play and second play have 9 pages. One of those pages is a title page. So I don't know if that counts. 8 pages maybe? The words though, 2,254 words in this one. Doesn't seem like a lot, but guys, I'm getting back into creative writing, okay? That's a lot for me. Themes, I would say there's themes of blame, themes of grief, and the overall theme, which is climate. Time spent writing, I put 6 hours. That's probably lowballing it. I think I worked on it a bit more than that. Did I do any prep or planning? Yes, I made an outline. I wrote a general breakdown of what's going to happen and a general breakdown of blocks that our main character hits, what obstacles get in the way, and how they resolve through them. Potential, I put high to very high because it already has a lot of potential right now, and I'll explain in a minute. Comedy percentage, I put 15%. There's a little bit of joking in there, but it's all sort of that gallows humor, like this is a terrible situation and it's very dire and we're all going to die. Ha ha ha. But it's not a great, I don't think by itself, I don't think it's a comedy. So that's why I put drama percentage, 90%. Definitely a lot more drama than comedy in this one. And for my friend approval rating, I got a good friend named Lux to do it. And Lux sent back optimistic, gut-wrenching. Wow. Big words there. But I think they're both true. Gut-wrenching because, yeah, it is kind of a sad story. It does deal with grief of losing people. But optimistic because, again, that ending is good. It's the character gets out of the situation in some ways. And in some ways, they're still in it. But in some ways, they're out. And that is optimistic. So do I trust this opinion? Yes, I do. I think it's pretty accurate. For overall rating, this one's probably going to be pretty good rating. I think this play had a lot going for it. And just the relevance of it, I think, adds a lot to its value right now. So I'm going to put this up here. I'm going to put it 8 or 9. like maybe 8.5. Like, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good play. So let's move on to week 3. I gave myself a challenge this week. I said to myself, if I wanted to make a play, I wanted to try making a play that's a bit different. So in this one, I made a play that I think I wanted to have no dialogue. I wanted to see what type of play doesn't have that classic standard of person's name, colon, what they say. I wanted to switch it up. I wanted to sort of converge talking and action into one thing. So the play is a little bit more experimental, and the next week's play is as well. But I think it's pretty good. So let's talk about it. This week's play is called The Juggler Juggles, comma, The Juggler Drops a Ball. In this play, it is all scene directions in which a juggler repeatedly tries to juggle on stage and fails. Every time the juggler fails, it expresses regret and shame. And every time it fails, it expresses more regret and shame until the scene directions themselves are criticizing the juggler and how badly it's doing its job. At the end of the play, the juggler decides to leave and takes agency back. Categories. This play had a total of 3 pages. Not very big. And a lot of that is empty space. Words, there are 453. Probably more than maybe you were thinking. Just 3 pages. The themes, I would say the themes are about public shame, public pressure, sort of being out in public, that's being watched, being looked at. That's definitely the theme of this one. Amount of time writing. I gave myself 1 hour on this one because, I think that's about as much as I spent on it. A lot of time I spent thinking about what I was going to write during the week, and then one day I just sat down and I wrote it, and I moved on, which is kind of what this whole challenge is about. So I'm not mad at myself for doing that, and I think it's fine. Prep and planning, I put not applicable, but like I said, I was thinking about it the whole week. It's kind of hard to quantize how much that adds to a play and how much that does to anything. For potential, I put medium. I don't know if it can go bigger than this. I don't know if you can make it longer and still make it satisfying. I think the premise of it being here's a person trying to do something, and the ending being the person stops trying to do it, could be very interesting for a short amount of time. But if you really extended that, I think you'd lose people. I think you'd lose attention. I think you'd lose interest. You'd lose something. So I think for what it is, I put medium because you probably could do something else with this. Maybe make a bigger work out of it. But I think as it stands, it's kind of hard to make bigger. Comedy percentage, 50%. Drama percentage is also 50% because it is kind of that type of story. It's like, it's a juggler and there's a clown aspect to it that makes it funny. It's like sad clown. The clown is really, really, really depressed about what it's doing, but people in the audience will think that's funny. They'll laugh out of embarrassment or a secondhand embarrassment or anxiety or because it is kind of funny. So I put 50-50. It's not either. It's both. And again, for our friend approval rating, this again comes from Lux. The other one does as well. Lux simply stated it was poetic. That was her word. Poetic. Poetic. Do I trust this? Yeah. It's kind of hard to disagree with poetic. Yeah. Yeah. Oops, I forgot to say the overall rating. It was a 6. Thank you. Finally, play number 4. You'll notice that there are still days left in the month of January where I could have written another play. I figured with the first 3 days of this week being the end of January and the next 4 being the start of February, I would just include the next play in next month's video. So next month we'll have 5 plays instead of 4. So more stuff. Great. This play is called Charlie Kills God. In this play, Charlie, who is the puppet god of the puppet skies, decides he's unhappy with his position and wants to take it up with his superior, who he discovers is just a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire. The higher up Charlie goes in the chain, the more he realizes that everyone is just a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire, and he kills them all on the way up. When he finally reaches God and the pantheon of gods, they take issue with his frank killing of every people who oppose him, and they kill him too, and nothing actually changes in the end. I could have gone with other names, I think, but that one I think is really gripping. It pulls people in. It makes you excited. It's like, Charlie Kills God. How does he do it? Who is God? Who's Charlie? There's lots of questions that come out of the title, so I like the title that I chose for this one. And again, I told myself to experiment and change it up. So this play is written entirely in point form. Get your categories here. Categories. One page, 290 words. I put the themes as power and control and rebellion. It took me 2 hours to write. I did make an outline, and I also did some work on the theme. I sort of wrote independently from this something else that I then took some ideas from and made into this. Potential, I think there's a lot of potential here. If you stage this, it could easily be a 20, 30-minute puppet show, with a lot of really interesting visuals and really interesting comedic moments and gags. And I'm curious about, how do you show the puppet ascending out of the puppet show? How do you show these other gods holding a trial? There's so many great moments I think you could make out of this. So I put high potential, comedy 40% and drama 40%. I don't know if they're fully either way, comedy or drama. So I think there's room for it to be something else. So that's why I put that. And then we have my friend approval rating. This comes from Lux once again. She writes, interesting, political. I don't know if I'd call it political, because I don't know if I was trying to be political when I was writing it. I guess the diversity, equity, inclusion thing could be considered political. I don't agree with the backlash over DEI. I think it's fine, dude. They're trying to make changes, and the changes are fine. They're not bothering anybody. But there is something to say about a greater conversation about, how people can take positions of power, which I think is what this play is talking about. I think. I wrote it. I should know. So do I trust her opinion? Yeah. Like I said, this is not a very interesting week. I trust all of the opinions because they're all pretty simple. And for overall rating, I didn't rate the other one as well. So I'll say play 3, overall rating, maybe about a 6. And this play, I would say 7. So everything in this, every play in this week, this month, I gave a 6 to 8, 8.5. So I don't think any of them are bad. And I'm really proud of each of these plays and the work that I did. But some of them are missing some aspects that I think could really bump them up and improve them. And that is just kind of what's going to happen when you write a play in a week. You're not going to have a huge amount of time to make everything perfect. So the last thing I want to say, something really exciting. So like I said, Firewatch, the second play, I wrote and submitted to a play call that I saw on Instagram, and it was accepted. Not only that, I got some work with a dramaturgy who was actually from the same place that I'm from, which is cool. We talked about what the play is trying to do. We talked about this idea of something called Through-topia, which is a sort of climate-based future where it like addresses climate change in a very real way by saying, all of these things that have happened to our climate, we've already affected. We can't undo, but we can move forward, knowing what we've done and knowing what we need to keep doing in order to keep the planet habitable and safe for humans. And that's so I kind of onomatopoeied it as to get utopia, you have to go through the current circumstance. And it was really nice talking about that idea with this play. And it was read along with a couple other plays in London, England, where they talked a lot about it. And while they were there, I got some feedback on it. So, even though I did say in my intro video that I wasn't going to touch any of these plays until after the year was done, this one's already kind of getting places. And I might do something with it before the year is done. Because it's kind of, it's popular right now. People like it. The dramaturge really liked the idea. We ironed out some of the kinks. I don't know how people reacted at the play reading because I wasn't there. I don't live in London. But if I had been, I'm sure I would have a lot of great knowledge on how people reacted to it and what sort of feedback. I'm going to get the feedback. I just have to wait for the people there to write it down and send it to me. So I think I'll update you more about that one in the next video. I might make another smaller video in the meantime. Okay, so that was it. That was the 4 plays of January that I completed. A little bit about each one, my categorizations, and what I thought. If you think I missed some categories of things I could have included on these plays, please let me know. If you want to read any of them, I'm not really sure how I'm going to distribute them out, but I think I'll try to come up with a way of giving people access to them so they can read them. Like I said, yeah, if you have any thoughts on new categories I could include in my spreadsheet, if you have any thoughts on topics I can make my plays about, if you have any thoughts on my process and what I could maybe do better and what I could maybe improve on personally, if you have any thoughts on the video and how I composed it and what I did and edited, anything like that, I would love to hear all those. I would love to talk to you in the comments. I would love to talk to you in any way. So thank you for watching. That was January. I'll see you in February. And have a lovely, lovely day. Bye.